Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Beyond Clean's Expert Series. My name is Garrett Hollenbeek, Editor-in-Chief of Transmission Control, and today we are diving in to episode 1 of this expert series. And we're jumping in with our expert, Michael Matthews, a clinical education specialist with Healthmark, a Getinge company, to talk about the ins and outs of cleaning chemistries. So if you are the science type, if you're the type that puts the detergent in the closet next to the washer and never looks at it again, this episode is for both ends of that spectrum. So, Michael, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me here, Garrett. It's a real pleasure. I'm very excited for this. I know every time we get a chance to hang out and chit chat, it's always a good conversation. So I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, I am too. And this is an area as an IP that I know it impacts every instrument that goes through our sterile processing departments. Whether we think about it or not, we have to make sure dosing is correct, that we've got the right detergent for the job that we're doing. And we're going to dig into this over the course of this 10-part series. So you're going to be breaking down all the ins and outs with us.
Yep.
Now, as we kick it off, we want to start with kind of a myth or an assumption that people may have about cleaning chemistries, and that is that it's just soap.
Yeah, that is one of the most common ones we get. In fact, I remember my first night in decontamination as a young sterile processing technician. My training on cleaning detergents was this is the stuff that gets the instruments clean. Like that's it. That's the only explanation you get. And of course, that explanation I think is probably what a lot of people have had, and it leads to a number of other challenges on down the line. And so I think kind of the big theme that I want everybody to understand as we get out on the outset of this and as we work our way through all of these episodes that we're going to be showing for everybody is that a detergent or a cleaning chemistry is fit to the task that you're giving it. And so we say it's not just soap because we want to differentiate it from what you might use on your hands or what you might use in your sink at home when you're cleaning dishes. Those are chemistries that are fit to those specific tasks. And it's the same thing for your cleaning chemistry that you're going to be using in decontamination. It has to be designed specifically for the task that you are applying it to. And that's going to be different depending upon even where you are in the hospital. And that's what we kind of see a lot of places. The mistake that we see that they make is it's kind of a one size fits all. And again, and when you have that idea of it's all the same, it's one size fits all, they all do the same thing anyway. Well, you can't really, you aren't cleaning things as effectively, and then you're going to make decisions that have problems on the back end, like, well, if they're all the same, then let's just buy the cheapest one that's out there. Well, that's going to create other problems as well because it's not going to be fit to the task that you have at your particular facility.
It makes me think of those when you see those Dawn soap commercials where it
Yeah,
says the only soap we can use on wildlife.
yeah,
You know, Dawn's not out there saying we're fit to use on ducks and we're fit to use on retractors. There's no claims there
yeah.
for that, right?
And it's funny too when we think about like dishwashing soap, because it just creates, it provides a good analogy of what is the difference between the two. That detergents that are used in for like cleaning dishes or cleaning wildlife, for example, they have a specific additive to them to make them foam more. Because if you fill up your sink and you put in your dish soap, and nothing looks any different after you've added that dish soap, your immediate assumption is, well, this isn't working. It's not doing anything, right? And so they actually add more foaming agents to that soap so that the end user sees the foam and says, this is working. All right. It's cleaning great. But you absolutely do not want foam in your cleaning chemistry and sterile processing for a number of reasons.
So I'm glad you hit on that because yeah, it's that human nature of like I know the bubbles are working when I can see the
Right.
bubbles.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah.
why when we read IFUs or guidance manuals does it say use a low foaming detergent?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of reasons why it's a very bad idea in sterile processing, and probably the first and biggest one is for employee safety. We're around an awful lot of sharp, contaminated instruments, and you should never, ever be in a situation where you are reaching your hand, gloved or otherwise, into an area that you cannot physically see what you're reaching into. And so if you've got a bunch of foam setting on the top of your sink and you're going to reach your hand in there, you have no idea what you're reaching your hand into. I mean, there could be sharp objects, there'd be even sharp instruments that are supposed to be there, like scissors. They have sharp ends. They could be sticking straight up, and you stick your hand down in there, and that's going to go straight into your hand and injure you. And so, like foaming, make it blinds you to what's inside the sink, and there are other problems as well. And one of the topics we're going to talk about on a later episode is, the physical force of cleaning through things like impingement or things like cavitation, which I don't want to define those right now because we'll talk about that at a later point. But the point is, there's a lot of physical activity that is generated in the cleaning process. Well, anybody who's filled their sink up with, dish soap and then kind of run your hand in there, it creates more foam. And so, with the amount of physical force that we're going to add to the cleaning process, we would generate a ton of foam if there was a foaming agent in those devices. I mean, you would have automated washers that are literally overflowing with foam, or an ultrasonic that was literally like just foam running out of it if there was a foaming agent in there. And foam, obviously it creates a lot of bubbles, it creates a lot of air that tends to create an inhibiting factor for the detergents reaching the surface. And so, like at all levels, it's bad. And so again, but that's because those dish soaps are designed for a consumer to use at while cleaning their dishes. It's not designed for cleaning biological contaminants off of surgical instruments and keeping them completely clean afterwards.
Right. That's 100% true. And so we've talked about why we don't want to use the wrong type of detergent. What's the source of truth to get to the right detergent that sterile processing should be using?
I mean, there's a bunch of different sources that, and they're all have their place, and they all have an important part to play. I mean, obviously, the very first top one is the IFU, and that means not just the IFU for the instrument that you're cleaning, but it's also the IFU for the detergents and the chemistries as well, because they will kind of spell out to you how they're formulated and why they're formulated that way. And all the things you need to know about that goes with that. And of course, the IFU for the device will tell you if there's any sort of restrictions on what you can use due to the compatibility issues. And I know we're going to talk about that a bit more. But the point is, like, you got to know the IFUs for both. And of course, obviously, we've got our standards. We've got AMI ST79 for general stainless steel and general instruments. We've got 91 for flexible endoscopes. Both speak to the effectiveness of those cleaning chemistries. And of course, the big one that's really a hot topic, and we are going to talk about at some point, is ST108, which is all about the water that you're using and you're mixing with it. And again, like there are other things that are important too, like your safety data sheets, your SDSs. Those are critically important for communicating risk to the end users and to those technicians. And so, again, when we just kind of say like this is the stuff that gets the instruments clean, boy, there's an awful lot of information that's critical to the effectiveness that is just inevitably going to get missed.
That's what's running through my head too. One episode in, and cleaning chemistries, I won't say a rabbit hole, but there's a lot more to it that we can pay attention to on the end user side, and making sure that we're aligned with that instruction for use on both sides. So
Absolutely.
on on next episode, we're going to be talking about the specific chemistry, and we're going to nerd out a little bit about what makes a detergent work well versus one that may just be causing more issues than it's solving. So check out episode 2 of our expert series on cleaning chemistries. We'll be back with Michael Matthews. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.